Oracle, as always, this magic carpet has landed. And I want to thank you for coming on and sharing with us this holiday Thanksgiving. Lord have mercy. It's you humans. We don't even have these holidays in Pigland. And I'm also a little distracted because I have to get out of here. I have a snout plumping Botox session, and I don't miss them. I mean,
Yeah, you do have
I
a
know you
really deep wrinkle, like kind of
think
like right there. So the Botox will be helpful, but you're beautiful. I mean, it's just going to
you
enhance
really
you.
have the nerve to talk about somebody's nose.
It's okay, friend. It's
Really? Are
okay.
we
I
really
have
going to go
Botox
there
right
at the
here. I
end?
can't
Okay,
even lift
okay,
my
okay.
eyebrows up in the
All right,
middle.
okay. Oh, goodbye. So anyway, hmm, yeah, I did that. Okay. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much, Oracle. It has been a true pleasure as always. We'll see you back here again next month for our November reading. In the meantime, be the blessing that you are. Thank you so much. And for all of you out there, happy Halloween. Uh, I don't know how it's going to work with the trick or treating and stuff, but just have fun. Even if you just dress up and move around your house, I don't care. Get out there. Remember, when you look in the mirror, you're looking at the very biggest blessing in your life, yourself. When you realize that and you acknowledge it and you embrace it, you can go out and you can be that blessing to the rest of the world. Join us tomorrow when my guest will be Shannon Elizabeth McGregor. This woman, about a year ago, and I remember when it happened. I knew her before. She sold everything, bought a Winnebago, didn't even get in the Winnebago, took off and got on a plane, and she's been traveling around the world for a complete year. She'll be here tomorrow to talk about what she found on that quest. I'm Lauren Michaels Harris. It's been a real pleasure. Again, thank you for joining us for our annual Halloween special here on Bathrobe Moments. I want to wish you all the greatest day. Be perfect. And I will see you again tomorrow for your next episode of Bathrobe Moments.
Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Keoki Rodriguez with me here today. How you doing, Keoki?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. Now that is the way you pronounce your first name, right? Keoki?
Yes.
Okay, that's a cool name. Does it have any significant meaning to it?
It's Hawaiian, and I believe it means George.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, nobody calls me George, but I appreciate that I have a unique name. It's not something that's very common, and it's kind of allowed me to have like some different light in my identity in a way.
yeah, like your own identity for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, man. People look for ways to stand out. You know, some people they do a lot of work to stand out, but for you, you have a name that kind of set you apart from everybody else, and it at least softly translates into George. I think that's pretty cool. Are
Yeah,
you
no, I
Hawaiian?
really love that. I'm sorry?
Are you Hawaiian?
I'm Hawaiian and Puerto Rican, yeah.
Really? Okay. So your parents are both Hawaiian and Puerto Rican?
My dad is Puerto Rican and my mom's Hawaiian.
Okay. All right. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you coming through today. Yolanda Raleigh says good morning. Thanks for getting into the building. We are here with Keoki Rodriguez today, and we're going to learn his story. Now, Keoki, can you tell me about where you're from?
I'm from Philly. I've been living here for 3.5 years now. It's been interesting. I really love what the city has to offer. There's so much life and so much like abundance in this city that like I've never experienced anywhere else.
Really?
And it's kind of nice, yeah.
Now, were you born in Philadelphia?
No, I was actually born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Okay. How long did you live in Florida?
I was kind of on and off for most of my childhood, actually.
Okay. Well, talk to me about your early childhood. What was it like? What was going on?
I mean, I was a pretty normal kid. I was into creative stuff. I loved writing. I loved reading. I loved Legos, especially. Um, I was always a very inquisitive kind of child. I was always asking, all kinds of questions about anything and everything. I still do. I still question everything.
Mhm.
It's one of my best qualities, I think.
Sure.
I think, though, my childhood was kind of different in a way that I think some people can understand, but I think most probably don't. I dealt with a lot of different foster homes and group homes, and I've learned from experiences therein. But a lot of it has kind of left scars, if you will.
Mm. When did you go into foster care?
When I was born, my mother actually gave me up for adoption, and my grandmother fought long and hard to adopt me. And I was about 3 years old when she got custody of me. And she was my mom in all sense of the word, the being, everything. And she was one of the most powerful people in my life, you know. She passed away a few years ago, and that was very something hard to deal with. But yeah.
Did you ever find out why your mother gave you up for adoption when you were a baby?
Not really. I mean, like, we definitely developed a relationship as, when I became an adult. I never really had any ill will towards her for her decision. I feel like, we all do things that we have to do. And I'm grateful to have her in my life now, She's helped me significantly in ways that like I never thought were ever going to happen with that whole kind of dynamic.
Right. I think that's great. I think that's a really positive thing that you were able to get back into a relationship with your mother, and
Yeah.
that lo and behold, she was able to add some value to your life that you would have never imagined.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now that's a very good thing. Now, what were some of the things that you learned from your grandmother, living with her and seeing her as your primary guardian? I'm sure there were some things that she taught you.
Oh yeah, she was very adamant on me learning to be independent, um, to continue to question everything, to continue to fight for what I think is right. Um, she taught me how to cook. I love cooking. I always go to the market in Center City here, and I'm always just kind of messing with stuff and just kind of having fun with it.
What did she teach you how to cook, man? Come on, let's be serious.
My favorite thing, I don't remember too much, but I do remember this because it was like my favorite thing growing up. They were empadillas, which are corned beef, sofrito, and a little bit of green olives.
Okay.
And it's like a, pastry, kind of filled pastry. And it's just, so there's so
Wow.
much flavor and it's just awesome.
How do you spell that? What's it called?
Empadilla,
How you spell that?
Empadilla, I believe.
Okay, now that's pretty cool. I never heard of that, man. I
Yeah.
thought when you first said it, I thought that you were going to say empanada, but
I mean, it's the same kind of thing. But I think, Puerto Rican culture has made it into something a little different than an empanada.
now that's cool. You have brothers and sisters?
To be honest with you, I really don't. I'm really not sure, actually. That's not something I've ever talked to my mom about. I know that we have a large family, but I don't know the extent of it.
And where was your father?
My dad actually was living in New York City when I was being raised by my grandmother. We developed a relationship in my teenage years, and I was very kind of cautious, but I was like, my dad loves art and music and science and learning, and he loves history, and I love all that stuff too, which are kind of things that you don't think about when you like talk about like inheriting traits from parents. Like, it's kind of weird how it kind of works out like that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But my relationship with my dad was really heavily bonded over music, and I cherish music to this day. It's a very powerful thing.
Wow. I mean, do you ever think about the importance of getting to know like the rest of your family? You at least you have a big family, but have you ever thought about the importance of finding out who some of them are, connecting with any of them?
I know I have family in Hawaii that I've talked to. It's just like, I'll be honest, like sometimes it seems like it's really messy and like my emotions kind of get, easily in the way of things. But I would love to. I would definitely love to get to know my family. But kind of growing up how I did, not really having anyone close except for my grandmother, we kind of just, I was just used to being independent,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You kind of felt like I'm out here in the world pretty much by myself, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So then what was elementary school like for you?
I actually had a great time in elementary school. I was a great student. I was always asking questions. I was, right there wanting to help other kids with their learning and all that stuff. And I very much enjoyed my, early school years.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you've always been somebody who likes to work with other people, keep a positive mindset no matter what's going on in your life.
Yes.
Cool. Now, when did you get into music? That's something that your father's into. When did you start playing music or getting into it?
I feel like it's been like since day one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would write poetry, which later on turned into songwriting. And I didn't get very far with songwriting because I was just nervous about sharing, really personal things like that. And music has just been like one of those super like uplifting things that people can really have a lot of takeaways from. But for me, it's just like, I just love exploring music. Like I learned recently that I have listened to music from 75 different countries, which I was proud of that. And I had no idea.
Right. Now, did you learn that through Spotify or something like that? Analytics?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Who's your top? Who would you say are your top 3 artists right now that you listen to?
I would say Poppy. Um, I'm not really. There's so many. My gosh. I love. I just love so much. I don't know. It's so hard to pick 3.
Okay, pick 4 then.
Okay, I'll say Poppy. I love Celine Dion. I love Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac. I could go on.
Now, Fleetwood Mac, they came out with a new project recently, didn't they?
I'm not entirely sure on that. I know that like thanks to outlets like TikTok and Facebook that they're getting a huge rise again, which is great.
Yeah,
'Cause
they're gaining popularity right now. Something's going on
yeah.
with Fleetwood Mac for sure. Now, would you say that music helped you to get through adversities in your life?
Oh, definitely, absolutely.
What did music do for you? And talk about a time when music changed your mind.
I think one of the biggest things was finding music and listening to music that people were actually relating to my pain, trauma, tribulations and such. Because I feel like there is definitely strength in numbers. And I think the biggest thing that music kind of helped me to stop was a suicide attempt when I was 17.
Wow. Okay. What did you listen to that helped you to change your mind?
I really don't remember at this point. I guess like some of the music I would listen to would be like, I guess you could say sad and depressing, but also still kind of powerful.
So like emo.
I mean, emo's definitely one aspect of it, but I mean, like, there's like the kind of like, there's a band called Sleeping at Last, and it's just like the way that they sing their songs and the way that they present themselves from like such a somber place. It just kind of like, helps you just relax and kind of like reflect on things and not feel so alone.
Absolutely. So music was a place where you found people that you could relate to even when you were in foster care.
Yes, absolutely.
What was it like for you in foster care? Talk about your first experience there.
I was a baby for the first experience, so I don't remember much of that. But when I started having issues at home with my grandmother, and things got out of hand, and so the state got involved, and they ended up putting me in foster care. And they would put me in homes. They would never really tell me where I was going. They would just kind of say, this is where, this is what's going to happen. And as a kid, you just kind of have to go with it, Some of the homes were actually really, really great, and I didn't want to leave. But most of them that I was staying at were temporary, but there was a definite handful that were very much traumatizing in some ways too.
How many foster homes were you in altogether? Do you recall?
Maybe 6 or 7.
Okay. So would you say that foster care changed your life?
Definitely. It definitely did.
In what way?
Some positive ways, some negative ways, but the more positive ways were that there were people that are out there that are doing good and they mean well.
Right.
You can trust people. And some of the negative aspects of it was, I couldn't trust certain people. I would be very skeptical. I'd be really worried, or I would get depressed because I just wanted something better.
What did you want? I mean, when you say you want something better, what does that mean?
I wanted, I wanted happiness, and I wanted, what other kids that I would have and, talk to in school, I wanted what they had. I wanted a loving family, and I wanted something that was going to last forever.
So what did that provoke you to do? Was that when you started doing more writing or looking for new music, or
I definitely started writing a lot more, and that's when I kind of really dove deep into writing poetry, and I still do. But yeah, I think that writing poetry was one of the best things to come out of that.
Okay, now when you come to America's Next Motivator and you let us know that you are an artist, we want to hear something. So you got something for us today?
I wasn't prepared. I should have been, I guess. I don't have anything off the top of my head, actually. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, we're going to invite you back when you got some poetry ready for us, and we'd love to hear it. All right.
That sounds great.
Yeah. Okay. So, what was going on in your life in high school around that time? What was going on?
High school, that was kind of a very tumultuous time in my life. I was coming out of, certain homes in foster care, and they were reintegrating me back with my grandmother.
Okay.
Because when it got really bad, I would just run away and I would go back home.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be with
so
my
you were leaving your foster homes and running away, going back to your grandmother's house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there were certain points that I did do that.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever consider that it was dangerous for you to be running away?
At the time, yeah, that thought kind of pops into your head, but it's kind of like a fight or flight deal in some ways.
Mm-hmm. What was so terrible that you felt like, hey, listen, I'd rather be running out there in the streets trying to get back to my grandmother's house? What was going on?
It would be a lot of manipulation, a lot of like control. Some parents just, I really hate to say it, but like it kind of felt like they were just doing it because of a paycheck or something. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that they had real motives behind taking care of kids.
Wow. And you felt like you were manipulated by some people sometimes as a young person?
Yeah. I was battling kind of, just coming out as gay and, being at such a young age, you're so unsure of so many things. And then when you're presented with, a lot of hatred, you just have to go.
Well, sounds like you were having an internal conversation that nobody knew about. And on top of that, people might have been picking with you, mistreating you, and then you were like pushed over the edge in those moments.
Yeah.
When you decided to come out as gay, first of all, what does that mean to come out? What's that mean?
Coming out is the act of like letting everybody know that this is who you are. This is, this is part of your identity. This is part of what makes you such a beautiful person in the world. But every coming out story is different. And I think that that's one of the most magical things, is that it's something that people do that really make people kind of listen.
Mm-hmm. When you came out, did you feel like that made you a stronger person?
Absolutely. I actually found out that like a lot of my friends kind of cared even more about me. I found out that it was okay to fully be yourself in front of everybody. I didn't have to hide anything. I didn't have to pretend I was somebody I wasn't.
Now, when you decided to come out and let people know who you really were, you said that people began to really wrap around you and really be supportive.
Yeah.
Wow. That must have made you feel a little bit more positive about life at that time.
Absolutely. It definitely did.
Mm-hmm.
And high school was one of those points where I was like, I can really, get into my own skin and like really develop as a person, get into my art more and music and all that.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you have like a circle up with your friends, or did somebody find your diary? How did you make that arrangement to let the world know who you really were?
A few people already kind of knew, which they loved me more because of it. But I just kind of felt like I didn't want to hide in the shadows anymore. So if if people were going to make fun of me for it, like, so be it. You know, I'm still going to be who I'm going to be.
And you were able to find strength through it all, but you still ran away a few times after that.
Yeah. I was just mostly out of fear of being, you know, psychologically abused, like, which it's very, you know, it happens sometimes. It shouldn't, but it does, unfortunately. So,
as you and I both know, there are hundreds of thousands of young people in the foster care system today. Some of those young people, they might not have come out yet, or they might be living in the same situation that you were, where you're feeling like, hey, I'm someone different than everybody thinks I am.
Yeah.
Can you offer some encouragement to them today?
I just really encourage people to really find their light and really shine their brightest when it comes to really being yourself. You know, we can't really have a world in any positive way if everyone's hiding stuff and just kind of scared.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like we live in a world where people are hiding stuff?
Not so much as an adult. I've come to realize that like a lot of people are very, you know, outspoken. They want their voices to be heard, and that's exactly what should be happening. It's a really a great thing. Unfortunately, I also think that like in some cases there's so many bad things that happen to so many good people, and it's, you know, it's more reason to keep speaking out and keep changing.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I also meant by that was, do you think that we hide what's really happening in foster care? Do we hide what's happening in our churches? Do we hide what's happening inside of the congressional buildings of America? Are we doing a little bit too much hiding the truth around here?
I will absolutely agree with all of that. I do think there's a lot of, you know, hiding on all these things. It's brushing things under the rug because it's either too sensitive to be talked about or too controversial. But, you know, a lot of things have been happening recently where Congress is, you know, getting pulled out of the woodwork and people are demanding explanations for things. And that's exactly, I think, how things should really be now. Like, there can't be all of these shady kind of workings.
Right. We need an era of transparency.
We really do.
Yeah.
We really do. As far as foster care goes, I just think a lot of kids feel like they have to live in fear because they're either ashamed or like they just don't know what else to do other than just kind of, you know, recluse from the world and kind of just hide.
Mm-hmm. My heart breaks for young people who feel like they need to hide, and I want to let young people out there know that it's okay to be who you are.
Yeah.
Look for somebody who wants to talk to you. You know, talk to a counselor, talk to your child care staff, whoever you can find to have a conversation with about what you're going through, and find a way to work through it. You know, so many things can be made better with a conversation.
Absolutely.
So many things can be made better by you writing down your feelings and evaluating it now and later. But when you just try to deal with it by yourself and it does something unhealthy on the inside of you, I think that's where we get the worst outcomes, and that's what we want to stop.
Yes,
it's called turning a blind eye. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, we do too much turning a blind eye, you know, and I think that particularly young people in the foster care system, they're going through a lot right now, and we're not talking about it unless we have a conversation with Keoki Rodriguez. We're not finding out enough about it unless we talk about you know, foster care and put a name on it. You know, say what it is that you want to talk about. We live in an era where everybody's communicating. We can't be afraid to address certain topics. All the topics need to be addressed, and everybody needs to get out there.
Yes, absolutely.
So now, did you graduate high school?
No, actually, I ended up dropping out.
Okay. What was it like for you when you dropped out?
Well, I dropped out because I wanted to take care of my grandma. She got really sick. And so I was working wherever I could to like help make ends meet. So that kind of ties into how and why I went back home so many times, because I knew, that things, were going to get progressively worse for her. And I couldn't let her go through that alone.
Right. Can you talk about the reality of caring more about somebody that you love? In this case, it was your grandmother. Caring more about your grandmother than you care about school, your future, your own well-being, because you've been in and out of foster care. You've been shuffled around. You got this one person that you love, and you love this person more than anything else in your life.
Yeah. Well, there was a quote that I have seen on Instagram from Breaking Code Silence, and it was, "We dreamed that one day we would be saved. We never thought that we would one day be saving ourselves." Meaning like former foster youth and, survivors of childhood trauma, like myself, talking and putting a name on things, like you said, is what really is going to help.
Absolutely. Hashtag Breaking Code Silence. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Keoki Rodriguez. He has a story to tell. We're learning it, we're listening, and we are inspired. We'll be right back after a brief message. America's Next Motivator. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator. Hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. How you feeling out there?
I'm good. I feel great. It's a little rainy, but it's all right.
Yeah. Now, before we left, you were talking about Breaking Code Silence. What's that about?
In September, Paris Hilton had released a documentary explaining her trauma that she had experienced at Provo Canyon School.
Okay.
Which is a school for wayward youth. Parents would send their children to all kinds of programs like this. And unbeknownst to them, these children were potentially and most often put through all kinds of abuse, unimaginable things. And it's one of those things that should have never been put in place. And I understand that some of these places do or did mean well. Unfortunately, things happen as things do. And, you know, the abuse in these places it was just staggering. And it just cannot be like that anymore.
Mm-hmm. So you were inspired by the documentary that Paris Hilton created.
Yeah. Going through some of the things that she had mentioned, getting kidnapped at 3:00 in the morning, you know, getting all your hair, you know, chopped off. You know, it's like a lot of things that are traumatizing as a kid that you don't understand what's happening. And, you know, later on you develop a sense of like resentment to adults or, you know, other authoritarian kind of figures, which is, you know, that's definitely not a healthy thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if anyone is going through any abuse, you know, there are tons of resources and tons of hotlines to, you know, to turn to.
So right here, right now on the show, I want to make this plain for everybody, for my public, for your public, and for the general public who might be watching this, who we can't even see. When you go into foster care, it's a lottery. It's a lottery as to whether or not you'll be in a foster home where you're going to be treated with respect and love and care. But when you go into a group home setting, this is a large estate where there might be between 30 and 120 kids there or 300 kids there. It can be an absolute grinder.
Yeah.
And when I say grinder, I'm talking about young people's lives being mangled, their cage being shaken, and their whole reality being distorted.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about your life story anymore, how you couldn't stay with your grandmother anymore, and now you just need a place to stay. Now it's about the 20 or 30 other people who live with you who are picking on you because they're trying to figure out how to grow up. They're trying to use you as a sounding board for their own masculinity or femininity. You're in a cauldron of influences. Everybody's pulling and tugging on each other. Everybody's on different medications.
Yeah.
And so what we have to raise awareness about is that the group home setting, the residential treatment care setting can be a grinder. I'm not saying that all applies to every. Some people are having a positive experience in those environments, but a lot of kids are not.
Yeah.
And even for the young person who is having a quote unquote positive experience, their life is still being impacted by dozens of people who they didn't know before they got there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might have been going on a field trip, but you can't go on a field trip now because these other two kids are fighting. Sometimes you might be having a good day, but then you get beat up on your way to school because somebody doesn't like you for an arbitrary reason.
Yeah.
These are the types of things that Keoki is talking about. Sometimes young people who are in the system, and more often than not, on residential treatment centers, group homes, are right in the middle of the USA, are preyed upon sexually.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, be quiet because nobody else wants you. Oh, be quiet because you have nowhere else to go. Be quiet or else so-and-so is going to beat you up for snitching.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I hear you saying today is that no more being silent. No more being silent about the ways that we are being mistreated in the foster care system, the way that we are being mistreated in the child welfare system. No more being silent about it.
Absolutely. It really starts with, you know, these people that are, you know, placed in control of these facilities, whether it be, you know, foster home, group home, just, you know, anything. I really think anything having to deal with, you know, taking care of children, it definitely, it takes a certain person. You know, you have to want to do these things, and you don't, and it can't come from a place of kind of like selfishness. You have to do it from like the goodness of your own heart. These are little minds, little souls that you are blessed to take care of, and you have to protect them. You have to teach them. You have to let them grow. You can't snuff out their light because of something that's different from what you are or what you
Right.
experience.
Right. And it's not always little people. Sometimes, a lot of the times, you're talking about 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
17-year-olds, people who are strong enough to really do damage to somebody else, either with their mind or their body. We got to start talking. We have to start talking about what's going on. We have to start speaking out, and we have to start listening.
Absolutely.
So now, Keoki, what is it that you want people to know about your experience? What is it that you want the world to know? If you never got a chance to speak again, what is it that you want us to know about your experience?
I want everyone to know that my negative experiences did not hold me back. They were, in fact, more fuel for me to be successful in life. And I want that to be like the biggest takeaway from everything.
Absolutely. So you will not be stopped.
No.
You will not be stopped. Now, do you ever see yourself creating a documentary the way that Paris Hilton did?
As an artist, we have a lot of unfinished projects, I will admit. It's kind of a workplace hazard, if you will.
Uh-huh.
But that is definitely one thing that I've thought about. A lot of my writing after watching this documentary has been geared toward, empowerment of children, and like making sure that, because they're children, their voice doesn't matter any less than anybody else's.
Absolutely not. Not at all. Everybody's voice is important.
Absolutely.
Everybody's voice is extremely valid. We need to know what people are saying. We need to know what people are feeling, without a doubt. So now, what are you doing in your adult life, your young adult life? What you got going on, man?
Well, pre-COVID, I was working as a florist, and that's something I never really imagined myself to do, but I found profound enjoyment in doing it. Just, simply creating something for someone that, is sick, or just, in celebration of something, or, even for a funeral, it's something sad. It's something beautiful that I can present to someone. And I really enjoy that about my work.
Sure. So now you create flower arrangements?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. What goes into that? It's not just grabbing a bunch of flowers and putting a bow on them?
You have to know like composition and like, the color wheel and, basic kind of stuff. But I really think anyone could do it. It's a fun thing to do. And I was, I'm hoping I get my job back doing that. But it feels so nice to do something like that. And I think that there can be so many opportunities where we can provide little pieces of heaven,
Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel inspired by the plants?
I do, actually. Yeah, I wasn't really a plant person until I got that job, and now I'm always telling my friends to like get these plants and like look at these ferns, and it opened up this kind of thing in me that I didn't know existed.
Mm-hmm.
And I love learning about myself, and that was one of the biggest things that I've enjoyed.
I think that we all need to discover the power of flowers.
Yeah.
When I made that comment, you just grab a bunch of flowers and put a bow on them. I was being playful there, because because what I understand about flowers is that they are a very, very powerful member of life here on Earth.
Yeah.
They're a very powerful member of life here on Earth.
They do have a lot of symbolism. A lot of roses mean a lot of different things. Yellow is for friendship and support. Red is, love and affection. we did a lot of baby shower stuff, and I really enjoyed that. The best thing I did though were wedding arrangements where you would decorate the arches or picture frames for like backdrops. It would be like stuff that was kind of unconventional in my life, but I loved seeing it kind of come to fruition. And like the flower show was where it really took off for me, where I was like, wow, like being this creative person and working with something like flowers, it just kind of like, it really opened up everything. Like I was like, wow, like this is like much larger than what I thought it was, where just grabbing flowers and just, you know, putting them in some water.
Mhm.
I've learned so much in my time working there.
What is a flower show?
The Philadelphia Flower Show has been going around. I don't really know exact dates, but I know that it's, you know, been a couple, maybe 100 or so years. But, you know, they would create these huge, stunning arrangements and make these like huge jaw-dropping kind of sets. And there's usually a theme, and everyone, you know, does these different themes in their own way. So you get to see how all these particular people showcase, you know, what that theme is and what it means to them.
That's pretty cool. Now, my thought about flowers are these. You can speak to them.
Mhm.
You can give them water that has been altered by music.
Mhm.
Some flowers you prune, some flowers you don't prune. Flowers communicate with one another. You know, they drift. Some flowers are more aggressive than others, and I'm talking about plants as well.
Yeah.
Flowers, plants. You know, there's a whole lot of different characteristics. So it's actually it's a huge industry.
Yeah, and touching back on, you said music and like musically charged water.
Mhm.
I remember somebody doing a kind of experiment, if you will, where they were talking positively to one glass of water and talking negatively to another glass of water, and they would still water the same, you know, the same two plants, and one of them would flourish, and that happened to be the one that was receiving all of the positive, you know, charges in that water.
Wow.
And it's crazy. It sounds crazy, but honestly, it proves that, you know, there's power in words, there's power in thought, there's, you know, it wouldn't be called willpower otherwise, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So now when we need a flower arrangement done, we can call you, right?
Sure.
Where's your flower shop located?
The flower shop is Robertson's Flowers and Events. It is in Windmore.
Okay.
It's a little outside of Philadelphia.
Mhm.
They've been in business for a little over 90 years, actually.
Okay. How are you feeling about everything that's going on out there in Philadelphia right now?
Um, it's tragic that the things are happening the way that they're happening.
Mhm.
You know, I'm a strong believer that Black lives matter, Black voices matter, Black businesses matter, and I've always supported that belief. It breaks my heart to see destruction in my city. As much as I try to sympathize with, you know, people, like it's hard to sympathize on destruction of your own city.
So people are destroying stuff out there?
Yeah, we've been we were under curfew at 9 p.m. yesterday because of the looting and violence that's taken place.
You know, unfortunately, I don't watch very much news because you know I have a smart TV, so I pretty much subscribe to different things. But I've not watched the local news about Philadelphia. So can you just paint a picture of what's going on out there?
A man by the name of Walter Wallace Jr. was shot, and he died because of those injuries.
Mhm.
The report said that he did not respond when the police were asking him to put a knife down. A lot of things are really still unclear. They haven't released much about this. But people really took to the streets. There were protests and there were, the adverse, reactions to all of that.
Mhm.
And my heart really goes out to the family. I feel, it's a terrible thing that could have been avoided.
How are you able to stay focused with all this stuff going on around you? Understanding what you've been through in life and the fact that you're trying to go to a positive place in your life. How do you stay focused?
I just keep reminding myself that one day we're going to be in a position of greatness. I just, have to keep that in my head. Otherwise, if, things can really, really get dark if you just lose hope. Philadelphia is one of the greatest cities in my opinion. And I don't want to see it destroyed. I don't want to see it, falling under corruption or anything. Like it's too great of a place.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see yourself 3 years from now?
Hopefully moving into my own home, my first home. I think obviously COVID-19's put a damper on a lot of things for a lot of people. But that is something that I'm still trying to work towards. Getting a car and getting a house. Yeah. I also eventually want to have a food truck. I don't see too many food trucks in Philly.
Selling what?
Probably Puerto Rican food.
Yeah, empadillas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That would be great, man. Have you thought of a name for it?
Not yet. No, not yet.
Okay. So it's just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the idea for a few years. It's just been, hard to execute with being so busy with work and, figuring out other side projects and completing everything else.
Mm-hmm. Are you a part of any projects that you'd like to talk about today?
No, I mean, it's nothing on social media, but I mean, a lot of my projects are, there's, I've been working on stop motion animation, which I'm still fairly new at. I find it fascinating. It's tedious for sure. You have to move everything a millimeter, and just keep rolling with that. But that's one of my biggest projects. I want to I have a story that I've written, and it's about a girl who, much like my situation. So I guess it's my story just told a little differently, where she feels like she can't escape her reality. So she creates her own reality.
Oh.
So it's kind of like a little twist on Alice in Wonderland, a little twist on Coraline.
I love that movie, Coraline.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites too.
Yeah. What was it that you liked so much about Coraline?
Just that, very much like me, going through something that was so traumatizing and not understanding everything, she came out on the other side strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then feeling like you've got one world on this side and you got another world on this side. And it's you who chooses which life you're going to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you could if you could paint your own future, what will be going on in your ideal future?
My ideal future would definitely be, sipping on some tea in the backyard, watching some dogs play, just enjoying a nice sunset. And just kind of reminiscing on all the good things. And then, still also knowing that good things are to come also.
Yeah. You ever been back to Puerto Rico or Hawaii?
I've never been to either.
Yeah. So you plan on going?
I would love to. I would really, really love to. I was planning a trip to Puerto Rico and for the summer, but things aren't okay for travel. So I've kind of put that on the back burner for now. But yeah, Puerto Rico is one of the most beautiful places in my opinion. A lot of islands in the Caribbean are just gorgeous.
Right. Now, a few minutes ago, you talked about how all your experiences in life have not and will not stop you from living your best life.
Yeah.
But somebody out there in the world who may or may not be watching this episode or maybe in the future, they're feeling like quitting. They're feeling like giving up. They got long hair just like you. They got the nose ring in. They listened to some emo music this morning, and they're not feeling very good. I want you to talk to them, get them off that ledge, so to speak.
I want them to know that it's okay. It's going to be okay. There's room for growth. There's room for success. Don't feel like you have to fill yourself up with sadness or just regret. Things will change, and you're the captain of your own ship. You steer your life where you want to go. Don't let people control you. Don't let people manipulate you or make you feel like you're less than human, because you're not.
Nice. All right. So listen, I've really enjoyed talking to you today. I got to, take a glimpse into your world. You taught me some things, and I really take away strength and positivity from where you've been and where you're going. So that's great. What's next for you?
Just kind of navigating through this pandemic and seeing what I have to work with and what I can do. At some point I even thought that I might have to move because I just was so unsure, but I've made some changes and things seem pretty solid again. Okay. which is a good feeling.
Yeah, we're rooting for you. Now, have you gotten more active on social media since all this stuff's been going on?
I really have. I will say, I have sadly lost some people in my life because of it, but things are gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Because people have differences of opinion, that doesn't mean I don't like them. That doesn't mean I have hate in my heart for them.
Right.
I wish them the best. I want them to be happy just like me.
Yeah. I mean, we're all spending a lot more time on social media. We're spending more time looking at each other, listening to each other.
Yeah.
We're more here on this space now than we've ever been. So it's okay to, end up paying enough attention to realize that, hey, I don't agree with everything that this person says, but still be able to live another day.
Yeah.
That's a real big takeaway, is being able to step back from social media, come back tomorrow, do what it is that you see fit, and pack your computer up and go back home. Now, got a few more questions for you as we round third base here today. The first, what is survival to you?
Survival is not giving up.
Mm-hmm.
Not letting anybody break you.
Wow. How do you not let somebody break you?
You just have to keep reminding yourself that you're destined for great things.
Mm-hmm. What is success to you?
Success is knowing where I was, understanding it, and growing from that.
Wow.
And that, I mean, on an emotional level, financial level, physical level, on so many different things.
Mm-hmm. So understanding where you've been to understand where you're going.
Yeah.
What is greatness to you?
To me, I think greatness means, being able to be okay with somebody having, differences of opinions, while still, remaining true to yourself and dignified. Greatness also means